Chrysalis let out another angry snarl, kicking a changeling that happened to have the misfortune of being close to her. She had been so close. Celestia was defeated. The only ones that could use the elements of harmony were captured, and Canterlot was within her grip. She shook her head. Where had everything gone wrong? Well, the obvious answer was Twilight's sparkle, the only one that saw through her disguise. The others had dismissed it as premarital stress, to which she had to laugh. The greatest ceremony of love was also an acceptable excuse to act cruelly. The unicorn had been easy enough to deal with. A few crocodile tears were all it took to get everyone to turn on her. Even in her defeat, she couldn't help but laugh at that. Friendship was truly just a joke. Then, after being assured no one would go looking for her, she sent her to those underground caverns. But that's where things fell apart. She didn't kill the real princess in her rage. While she half expected this, she hadn't expected her to return to the chapel. She hadn't done much to prevent Twilight from leaving the caves. Why would she? All those ponies failed her. Why would she risk her life for them now? She must really be obsessed with her brother. And then there was Shining Armor and Princess Cadence's love spell. It should not have been so effective on her and her children. She had been feeding off of Shining Armor's love for days. Why would it have been damaging to her? It made no sense. It was so much. It overwhelmed her. But why? And how did the two of them activate it? How could Cadence still love a stallion that had allowed her to suffer for so long? She growled, sitting on her makeshift throne of rocks. The desert she and her subjects had been scattered to had little in the way of ponies, only a few scattered towns and some nomadic buffalo tribes. At least there was a cave she could hide in while she thought of her next move. Still, instead of the future, her mind couldn't help but wander to the past. It was long ago, centuries, in fact, so long that speech patterns were much different then. Still, try as she might, the Queen of the Changelings couldn't help but remember it, as if they were speaking normally. Of course, she hadn't been queen then, nor had she been a changeling. Changelings hadn't even existed then. At the time, she had been a Pegasus, one of many in Commander Hurricane's ranks. Throughout the years of service, she had caught Hurricane's eye and had been promoted as far as Major. However, by this point in time, one wouldn't have been able to guess her previous commendations. "How could you be so foolish?" Hurricane demanded, slamming her hoof on the table. "I should be asking you the same question, dear Commander," she sneered. The leader of the Pegasus growled at her boldness. "Me? I do not go around attacking our allies during such crucial times. Our tribes should not be interacting as such," the subordinate snapped. "What would our forefathers think of us, sharing the spoils with the unicorns, let alone the earth pony filth? Those earth pony filth, as you call them, are our allies. And I remind you, even before Hoof, we relied on the earth ponies for food. Your memory is poor. We did not rely on them. We made it clear that they would grow food for us, and we'd make sure they grew no food at all." "A mere bluff," Hurricane dismissed. "We needed their food badly. Truly, the only thing that's changed from forming of Equestria is that we rid ourselves of any pretenses." "And what of our military campaigns?" The subordinate refused to back down. "Our plans to expand into the donkey homelands seems to have been forgotten." "I told you, those plans are unnecessary. I've discussed it with other leaders, and lands we've claimed are more than sufficient." "You've forgotten our destiny," she snarled. She turned to show off her cutie mark, a sword in front of a shield. "When I got this mark on the 7th summer, I was dreaming of overrunning the unicorn homelands, leaving that foal princess and her lover to burn in the ruins. Now you, the one who inspired me to the path of war, rob me of such a dream. It was the fool dream. That thinking nearly destroyed us, allowed the Wendigos to freeze us solid. That era has passed. The others have accepted it. They have not attacked some unicorn dignitaries because they refused to answer some trivial questions. I had to, she yelled, banging her hooves on the desk. They refused to give me answers. Enough, Hurricane boomed. But this did not silence her. No, I am a warrior. I am all ready to take the trials to... The source would never make you an alicorn. It would... Enough. This is a crucial time. The energy of friendship, the same that defeated the Wendigos, is being transported to the new capital, and I can hardly afford to deal with such an insubordinate Pegasus. You can consider yourself stripped of your rank. You are no longer my soldier. Her mouth dropped open. But... Enough. Leave my sight. I have more important matters to deal with. The young Pegasus just stood there, gritting her teeth. Then she turned around and tromped out of the office, trying to leave holes in her former commander's hardwood floor. As she left, she passed the 2 unicorns she had attacked earlier. They looked as different as could be, one white with a pink mane, the other dark blue with a lighter blue mane. The 2 gave her an icy cold stare, which she returned in earnest. However, she never slowed her pace, and was soon out of the building. She sighed, sitting on a cloud far beyond the capital city's borders. At least, what would have been the capital city. It was still in its early stages of being built. Only the new capital building stood out, a beautiful stone castle. The earth ponies had finished it with great speed. Even she had been impressed. Still, she hated it, for all its beauty. A building for the 3 tribes to work together? How sickening. Prissy unicorns and filthy earth ponies, standing proudly alongside the superior race, made her stomach churn. Disgusting, she muttered. I couldn't agree more, a voice concurred. The warrior's maiden stood on end. She turned around, ready to trample the pony who had disturbed her brooding. In a rare occurrence, she was stopped. It wasn't a pony that stood before her. She wasn't sure what it was. The creature before her looked as if it had been several animals that had been merged together into a single, jumbled mess. The sheer unbelievability of the sight stopped her raging temper, leaving her in pure bafflement. It's quite revolting, isn't it? The creature said, slithering past her and overlooking the city. Peace and harmony. Gag. He opened his mouth and pointed a taloned finger at it, making sounds as if he were going to vomit. Who are you? She finally demanded. He turned to her, grinning. I am Discord, master of chaos and disharmony, ready for you to serve me. Serve you? She shrieked, offended. A mad, twisted force saw fit to spew a foul creature like you out? Hey now, Discord said, holding up his arms in defense. That's not very nice. I'm just an all-powerful, malevolent god who has come here now that the Wendigos have failed. And you're going to serve me quite willingly, because I'm going to give you something you want more than anything. At that, her anger cooled. She arched a skeptical brow. And what is that? Smiling sadistically, Discord raised a lion's paw and snapped it. In an instant, the young Pegasus felt 10 times stronger, like she could face Commander Hurricane's whole battalion single-hoofed. A mirror appeared in front of her, allowing herself to see. She gasped. She was an alicorn. She was larger, her wingspan more than 3 times its usual length, and a beautiful blue horn sticking out of her forehead. The strengths of all 3 tribes. Sure, wings are superior to strength and magic, but having the other 2 is still a nice bonus. But how? Only the source can't... Discord scoffed. Would you honestly believe your priests? There's nothing I can't do. I can give you everything. The powers of all 3 tribes, a loyal army for you to command, and a great victory against the mighty city. With that, he snapped his finger again, turning her back to normal. No! She shrieked, turning back to the mad god. I must... He tossed the mirror away while waving a talon in his face. Not yet. That was chump change compared to what powers I'm going to give you. And all you have to do is one little job for me. The Pegasus looked away uneasily, before turning back to him. What do I have to do? Discord gestured to the Capitol building. You see that? It's a symbol of the 3 tribes putting aside their hatred of one another to join hooves in friendship. It has to go. But as long as that, friendship energy is present, I can't even approach the city. The same that defeated the Wendigos? The very one, he growled. I need you to go in there and destroy it for me. She looked at her benefactors skeptically. I no longer hold any rank in Hurricane's forces. They will not allow me anywhere near the energy. As skilled a warrior as I am, I can't fight them all. Discord chuckled. Then we'll just have to get you an army. With that, he snapped his fingers, and the 2 disappeared. When they reappeared, the Pegasus wobbled around wearily for a moment, the teleportation leaving her momentarily disoriented. She shook her head, trying to get her wits together. They were on another cloud, overlooking another city. There were ponies, but they weren't Pegasus unicorns or earth ponies. They had wings, but they were like butterfly wings, moving in a smooth and elegant rhythm. The city they inhabited was immaculate and bright, and seemed to generate good feelings. Flutter ponies, Discord explained. A 4th tribe. Had the good sense to go into hiding a few hundred years back to avoid the conflict between the 3 remaining races. You mean there have been these bugs all this time, taking to the skies that rightfully belong to the Pegasi? Indeed. They can't manipulate weather, though they can produce some powerful wind currents. Bah! At least the earth ponies could handle some heavy lifting, she scoffed. Indeed. Still, I believe that we got some good use out of them, Discord said in a rather casual manner. He snapped his eagle fingers. In an instant, every flutter pony stopped in midair and dropped to the ground. They convulsed wildly, as if they were being torn apart from the inside out. Their skin turned dark, their wings turned transparent. Fangs grew in their mouths, and horns spouted in the middle of their foreheads. Holes appeared in their legs, and their eyes lost any pupils and irises until they were a pure blue. Once their transformations were complete, they rose to greet their new masters. Each looked exactly the same. None of the distinguishing features they had previously were present. The Pegasus gasped at the show of power. An entire race, changed, at nothing more than the swap of some fingers. She looked up at her benefactor in frightening awe. Discord gave a mad grin, and then placed another finger on her forehead. In an instant, the Pegasus felt like her head was going to split in 2. Thousands of thoughts poked at her brain, shouting for direction and guidance. She fell to the ground, crying from the agony of it all. I've linked you to your soldiers. You can command them with a mere thought. I could have made it painless, but where's the joy in that? The pain began to subside as Discord kept speaking. My little changelings here can take any form and hold it indefinitely. Oh, and as a little bonus, they feed off of love. Can you imagine it? The very source they are counting on to protect them is going to fuel my victory. By now, the pain had dulled, and the Pegasus sat up. I can handle it now. I feel each and every one of them, ready to serve me. And I'm sure you can think of a way to use them, can't you? In the Capitol building, there was a room where 3 leaders stay. Commander Hurricane, Princess Platinum, and Chancellor Puddinghead all sat in the 3 highest seats. They still kept their old titles, though there was little more to them now than tradition. Their subordinates sat just below them, the ones who began the bonds of friendship that united them. Several other seats were filled with other ponies, the start of a new government. Several unicorn and Pegasi guards surrounded the perimeter, guarding the room's most valuable item. The energy sat in a special orb, created by Clover the Clever himself, which rested on a stone bust in the center of the room. "My friends," Platinum began, addressing the council. "On this eve, we officially usher in a new era. Our 3 tribes have united most splendidly, and the fires of our friendship have vanquished the Fable Wendigos and allowed us to build a strong new nation. The orb you see in front of you contains the very essence of our unity. May it guide Equestria for generations to come." That line was met with the most unusual response. Slow, sarcastic laughter filled the chambers, causing all present to pause and look around in confusion. Chuckling, the rogue Pegasus stood in the entryway, her mouth in a cruel grin. "You continually exceed my expectations, Your Highness. Every time I think you unicorns couldn't get more disgustingly sentimental, you say something that proves me wrong." "What are you doing here?" Hurricane demanded. "Did I not make it clear you weren't in my elite any longer?" "You did," she smirked. "I no longer take orders from you, Commander." "I have no time for this," the leader of the Pegasi exclaimed. "Guards, arrest the traitor." There was silence. None of the guards moved. The Pegasus grinned. "You heard her." At that, the soldiers did move, taking threatening steps towards the council seats where the 3 leaders sat. "What is the meaning of this?" Hurricane demanded. "They're doing as you said," the rogue soldier said, taking steps to the center of the room. "You've betrayed the Pegasi race. You brought us down to the level of the unicorns and these filthy earth ponies." "How dare you!" Puddinghead shouted. "You have no right to—" She was cut off by a blast of magic from one of the unicorn guards, which knocked her back into her seat. "I have better things to do than listen to you," the traitor scoffed. Clover the Clever's face scrunched in confusion. That didn't feel like unicorn magic." "Very observant," the traitor noted. At that point, every guard in the room glowed a sickly green glow. Flames enveloped them, revealing their true forms. "What have you done to them?" Hurricane demanded, as she and the other leaders were surrounded by the strange creatures, being held in place. "What have you done to my guards?" "My guards slit their throats," the traitor said casually, moving towards the energy. "These delightful little creatures merely took their forms. There isn't a single guard in this room that's a pony, which means that I have to do that much simpler." She brought her mouth down, unsheathed her sword, the hilt in her teeth. She walked up to the orb that held the capital's most powerful source. There was a unanimous cry of "no" from every pony in the room. Clover fired a magic blast from her horn, but the changelings were too quick and tackled her before she finished the spell. She continued casting spells, but they only succeeded in scorching the ceiling. Smart Cookie and Lieutenant Pansy attempted to leap out of their seats as well, but they were stopped just as effectively. "Stop!" Pansy screamed, struggling against her captors. "You don't know what you're doing." "I know exactly what I'm doing, you simpering fool," she scoffed, though her words were a bit muffled due to the weapon in her mouth. "That a spineless fool like you was given such a high rank disgusts me." With that one final show of contempt, she plunged the sword through the orb. In an instant, its glow stopped, leaving a gray sphere in its place. Then cracks branched out from the blade, circling the orb. Finally, it broke apart, falling into 6 separate but equal pieces. A collective gasp emerged from the associated ponies. "Foal!" Smart Cookie cried. "Insolent foal! How could you?" In a moment, there was a flash of white light. Discord appeared, cackling madly while lightning flashed in the background. An impressive feat, considering that they were inside. The ponies all gasped at the unusual creature before them. The traitor simply saluted. "I have successfully completed my mission, sir." "Oh, really now? Using military protocol on me? You don't know me very well," he scoffed. Clover was the first to find the will to speak. What are you?" Grinning, Discord snapped his fingers, allowing a golden sign to appear above him and several fireworks to go off around him. "I'm Discord, master of chaos and its harmony," he yelled, striking a dramatic pose. Then, in an instant, all the flashy display disappeared. "Oh, and FYI, I'm taking over this kingdom and turning you on to my personal playthings. So, yeah, abandon all hope and kiss your sanity goodbye." "Coward! Why not call these beasts off and fight me hoof to hoof?" Hurricane demanded. "Silence! He doesn't need to prove anything to—" At that moment, the traitor's mouth became a zipper, which closed itself. Discord chastised. "This could be interesting. You bugs, shoo. Go cause chaos and disharmony. That's what I made you for, anyway." The changelings obeyed, flying out of the room without a thought. With that, he turned back to the leader of the Pegasi. "Well?" Wasting no time, Hurricane pulled her sword and flew towards her opponent. In response, Discord snapped his fingers. Suddenly, Hurricane deviated from her flight path, crashing hard to the floor. Years of battle experience allowed her to recover quickly, letting her to check her wings. She let out a gasp. They were upside down. "What? How?" Hurricane began, only to be cut off when Discord snapped his fingers again. Out of the commander's mouth came an arrow, flying as straight and as true as if it had been aimed by the most skilled archer in Equestria. Unfortunately, she happened to be looking at Pansy when it happened. Hurricane opened her mouth to cry her lieutenant's name, but that only resulted in 2 more arrows lodging themselves into her friend's corpse. Tears in her eyes, she fell to the ground, the normally proud warrior broken. "You monster!" Clover the Clever shouted. The other leaders and their subordinates wasted no time in leaping at the creature in an attempt to take it down. Discord raised an eyebrow, and then turned intangible, allowing the attacking ponies to pass right through him. "Really? You're attacking me after seeing that?" he exclaimed, snapping his fingers. In a flash, 4 very different things happened. Chancellor Pudding's head actually turned into pudding, falling to the ground in a gloppy mess. Her headless body stumbled around, slipping on what used to be a part of it. Smart Cookie actually turned into a pony-shaped cookie, as if she were fresh out of the oven. Unfortunately, this made her legs too weak to support her, and they crumbled apart. She felt every bit of it, screaming in pain as more of her body broke off. Clover the Clever's magic produced only clovers. Then clovers began sprouting all over her. She screamed in absolute fear as they covered her body, making her appear as some kind of walking shrubbery. Princess Platinum actually turned into platinum. At first, it was a pony-shaped statue, but then the form bent into a ball until it resembled a boulder. Discord laughed uproariously, and his subordinate couldn't help but have the same reaction. The reaction of the other ponies, however, was far different. They screamed in terror, all jumping out of their seats and stampeding over themselves in sheer terror. This made Discord laugh even harder. He snapped his fingers again. A unicorn's horn glowed deep red, causing him to scream in pain and attempt to tear it off his head. Another snap, and the Pegasus' feathers came off of her wings. Their quills grew sharp, and they began stabbing her in the flank while she ran for her dear life. Another snap, and an earth pony became as flat as a sheet of parchment, blowing away at the slightest breeze. However, Discord's games were interrupted with a sharp cry of "Stop, fool being!" The Master of Chaos arched an eyebrow as two unicorns stepped forward. His subordinate recognized them as the two that had cost her a place in Hurricane's forces. The darker one spoke. "We shall stop your reign of terror!" Discord hit the ground, laughing, wiping a tear off his eye. "Really? Well, then, here," he said, summoning a target in front of him. "A free shot. I'll crush your hopes all the more readily." The two unicorns powered up their horns and let loose two blasts of magic. They intertwined, moving in a drilling motion before driving right into Discord's face. He yawned. He didn't even flinch or show any sign of pain. "Very nice. It looked pretty, if nothing else," he said casually as he snapped his fingers, causing the pair to freeze in place. "Now, I guess I should make an example out of you. Oh, but what to do. While she had enjoyed this game at first, the rogue Pegasus was beginning to lose her patience. Pardon me, but I believe it's time for you to fulfill your end of the deal." Discord gave her a neutral look, then smiled. "I suppose it is," he smirked, and then snapped his fingers. She braced herself for the power of an alicorn, and it never came. Instead, 3 of her changelings appeared before her. Before she could comprehend what was going on, they leaped onto her, pinning her to the ground. One reared up, then spat a projectile of green slime right into her face. "Ah!" she screamed in panic as the changelings continued to coat her in the muck. "What is this? You said you'd make me an alicorn." "No, I didn't. I said I'd make you powerful. I could change you into one of those, but honestly, where's the joy in that?" She opened her mouth to protest again, but she was silenced by another blast of slime to the face. It hardened and tightened around her muzzle, restricting her ability to talk. Now, Discord said with false gentleness. "Just relax. It will be easier." She tried to disobey at first, but suddenly everything felt hazy. Her eyelids drooped as the slime completely encased her. The last thing she felt was herself being lifted up before she drifted off to sleep.